다시 돌아온 반반 팟캐스트 하프앤하프의 정태웅입니다. 반갑습니다.
And I'm Jeep. Welcome to Half and Half. And we have a topic that it will be interesting today, making websites, which is something that we have both done.
네.
I think I've done it more than you, but I'm curious because let's just jump right into your project because I think it's interesting. The Snack database, SnackDB.
맞아요.
Is that your first website, or have you done one before that?
첫 번째 웹사이트입니다.
Okay. Explain this website. And this isn't an advertisement, even though it is, but let's talk about like how you made the website, like the actual process of making it.
어,
Yeah.
네, 좋아요. 일단은 스낵DB라는 웹사이트고,
Mhm.
스낵 데이터베이스라서 DB인데,
Mhm.
실제로 과자의 뭐 가격이나 뭐 재료나 뭐 영양 성분 같은 데이터베이스 느낌은 아니고요.
Right. It's not like what are the ingredients of the snacks and like what those types of things. What is it?
네, 맞아요. 그건 아닌데, 그냥 그 과자를 사람들이 생각할 때
Mhm.
맛이 괜찮은지, 마음에 드는지,
Mhm.
가격이 마음에 드는지,
Mhm.
실제 가격이 얼마인지는 모르고요.
Right, sure.
네, 그리고 그거 외에 뭐 양이 많다고 느껴지는지 그런 것들을
Yeah.
사람들이 점수를 매길 수 있고요.
I see. So it's like a review, like how much do you like this, and is it, are the portions good, and things like that. Like it's more of about reviewing snacks.
맞아요. 그리고 한 줄 평도 남길 수 있는 데이터베이스 사이트입니다. 그러니까 사실 리뷰 사이트죠.
Yeah, sure, makes sense. And I mean, it's mostly Korean snacks. When I went to the website and looked, it's mostly Korean snacks. I'm sure that's just because that's what you're familiar with. Do you think that it's going to stay focused on just Korean snacks, or do you plan to include like other things that you wouldn't get inside Korea as well later?
저는
음.
그 한국에서 먹을 수 있는 외국 과자들을 일단 추가하고 싶고요.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
네, 그리고 그 다음 단계는
Mm-hmm.
미국 버전, 일본 버전을 만들고 싶어요.
Mm-hmm. Okay, makes sense.
네, 네,
Yeah, I definitely noticed that like living in Canada, the snacks that I can find in Canada are different from the ones I find in the USA. Like there's some that are the same, but there's some that are completely different. And so yeah, every country really has like different sets of things like that.
그렇죠.
Cool. Okay. But yeah, making the website like so do you just use like plain HTML, or like do you use a website builder, or like what's your process for making a website?
저는 일단 그 생 자바스크립트
Yeah.
그거는 아니고요.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Next.js를 썼습니다.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
프론트는 Next.js,
Mm-hmm.
백엔드는 수파베이스 DB를 썼는데요.
What is that? I've never heard of that. Superbase?
수파베이스예요. 슈퍼가 아니고
Okay. Supa. Mm-hmm.
네, SUPA 수파베이스인데
Okay.
파이어베이스?
Oh, a Firebase. Yeah.
파이어베이스랑 비슷한데
Mm-hmm.
데이터베이스 구조가 좀 다른 서비스거든요.
Okay, I see. Mm-hmm.
근데 그게 스낵DB에 더 잘 맞는 타입이라고 해서
Mm-hmm.
그거를 사용했습니다.
Okay. And so that database, it's mostly you're just I'm asking because I don't know. You're just using an interface to like set up the database, like set up the values that are stored and how they're stored. But you're not writing any direct database code, right?
그쵸?
Okay. Gotcha.
뭐 근데
Yeah.
그 정책
Like a notebook?
아니요 정책
What is that?
폴리시
Okay.
이거,
Mm-hmm.
예, 제가 영어 단어 얘기하면 자막이 잘 못 잡아서
Okay.
아무튼 그런 것들을 그 SQL 명령문을 쓰긴 해요.
Okay. I see. Mm-hmm.
네, 그 정도만 하고
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And then what else was I going to ask? Well, we'll talk more about StackDB later, but I want to talk about this is the first time I kind of set up my own database for a website is for Sangun, the game that I'm working on. But that game, the front end and the back end, I did all the code for myself. Like, so I just program it directly. But been making websites for like a very long time. But really, this is the first time I did one with a database. That's not quite true. There's one other example. So, so
그래요?
yeah, about like maybe 10 years ago, I made a website called Warning Spoilers.
네.
The idea was to have a website where how do I explain this? Do you know what Cliff's Notes are?
뭐라고요?
Cliff's Notes? Do you know what that means?
아니요, 몰라요.
Okay. That's what it's called in USA. It has a different name in Canada. I can't remember. But okay, so when you're in college and you have to read books, you're assigned books to read. Sometimes they're very difficult or very long books, right?
네.
But you have to answer questions about those books or like, review and study those books. Like what is the content of the books?
답지.
Maybe.
네.
But
네.
sometimes you don't have time to read all those books. So you need to like a much, much shorter version of the book. Like
네.
chapter 1, here's just one page, here's all the information about chapter 1. And the next page, here's all the information about chapter 2. So it shortens it, like makes it very, very, very short, just the most important information.
답지가 아니라 요약본이군요.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
요약본.
Okay, so we call that
뭐라고?
Cliff's Notes.
네. 좋아요.
Okay. So then what I wanted to do was make a website that was Cliff's Notes for video games. So if you didn't play, Call of Duty 5 or you didn't play, whatever game, you could still know like what is the basic information about that game. Like, what is the most just very, very simple. You can read it in 5 minutes, everything to know about one game. So that if you're playing a series, you can maybe, instead of having to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can just read the Cliff's Notes for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then start on 5, like that.
그래서 이전 시리즈를 플레이 안 했어도
Yeah.
그 새 시리즈를 이해를 하고 게임을 할 수 있는 거네요.
Yes. Yeah. And so I called that website Warning Spoilers. Warning Spoilers. And then it had a database, but I was using like some existing database software. I don't remember what it was called. And the idea was that users could add information about different games that they had played, and there would be a big
그래서.
database there. Yeah. But I got too busy to work on it or like do anything with it, so it doesn't exist anymore. But that was the first website I did that had a database. Yeah.
근데 쌍근
Yeah.
데이터베이스를 직접 만든 거면요.
Mhm.
그러면은 그 데이터베이스가 있는 컴퓨터가 계속 돌아가야 되는 거는 아니에요?
Well, yes, but so I do have a web host. So there's a host service that I use that has the database, like the physical actual computer or computers that have that database is somewhere, not in my house.
그러면은 제가 쓰는 것도 호스팅 서비스인가?
Yeah.
그럴
Yeah.
수도 있겠네요.
Yeah. So I have that as my host, but the like setting up the actual database, it's done through MySQL or MySQL. Some people say.
네네네.
And the like all the code that reads from and writes to the database, that's all code that I wrote using PHP. And so I write PHP code that updates the backend and reads from the backend. And then the front end code, which is all JavaScript, that's what sends requests to the PHP. So it may be a little technical, but yeah. So yeah, then I use HTML and CSS for the front end. So CSS is the setting up the style, like visually what it looks like, and then the HTML and JavaScript is like the code that runs on the client, like the compile time code. Yeah.
음흠.
Yeah.
네, HTML은 웹사이트의 뼈?
뼈? Like bones?
네, 뭐 그렇게
Okay,
얘기할 수
sure,
있나요?
sure. Yeah, 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 correct.
그런가요? 그리고
It makes
뭐
sense.
근데 아니면 뭐 구조 기둥 뭐 구조물?
Yeah, I totally. Yeah, it's a good analogy.
네, 그리고 뭐 CSS가 뭐 뭐라고 할까요? 뭐
The brain.
벽지?
Oh yeah, Pokchukti is good. Yeah, I thought you were gonna go
네.
with more body parts, like
아,
because in your brain you have to remember things. I don't know. So something like that.
그런가요? 오.
I don't know. Maybe it's a bad analogy.
네, 그리고 그 사이트가
Yeah.
움직이기를 그러니까 뭔가 액션을 하고 싶으면 자바스크립트를
Yeah,
써야 한다.
yeah,
그렇게.
exactly. All the animations, all the images, and like things that when you click this, it does this. That's all JavaScript. Yeah,
그렇죠.
yeah.
근데 뭐 제가 한 건 사실
Mhm.
웹사이트를 만든 게 아니고요.
Mhm.
웹사이트를 만들어 달라고 AI한테 부탁한 겁니다.
Have you done that yet, or you're just saying you want to try that?
아니요, 제가 그렇게 했다는 거예요. AI한테
okay.
부탁을 한 거예요. 전.
I see. So like, you basically say, "Hey, I want to make a website that, for example, your website has a quiz in it." You'd say, "Hey, I would like to add a quiz to my website. The quiz will have 10 questions, and something like that."
네.
Okay. Which AI are you
그렇게.
using for that?
제가 작년 한 7월, 8월
Mhm.
쯤부터 만들기 시작했는데요.
Mhm. Mhm.
한 그때부터 한 5, 6개월?
Okay. So you've been working on it since like July or August, and it's been about 5 months.
네네네. 한 7, 8월부터 시작했는데,
Yeah.
네, 그래서 5, 6개월 동안은 챗GPT만 썼어요.
Okay. Just ChatGPT.
네네.
Mhm.
근데 그게 실제로 코드를 작성하는 건
Mhm.
VS 코드였거든요.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
그러니까 한 과제를 할 때마다
Mhm.
지금 제 프로젝트에 폴더 구조 같은 거 있잖아요. 파일 트리.
Yep.
그런 것들을 스크린샷 찍거나 복사해서
Oh, really? You just send
네,
that straight to ChatGPT?
네네 그걸
Oh.
복사해서 보여주고
Yeah.
지금 파일 구조가 이런데
Yeah.
내가 뭐 고치거나 추가하고 싶은 기능은 이거야.
Uh-huh.
그러면 이거 네가 보고 여기서 네가 무슨 파일을 봐야 네가 일을 할지
Yeah.
일단 얘기해줘. 그러면 내가 그걸 업로드 할게. 이렇게 해요.
Really? Okay. So you send it a picture of the directory of files in your website, and then it
네.
will say, "Well, I need to look at this file, this file, this file," and you can upload those.
그렇죠.
That's amazing, actually.
아 그래요?
Yeah, that's crazy.
아무튼 근데 그게
Yeah.
처음에는 꽤 잘 됐어요. 무리 없이.
Uh-huh.
되게 잘 됐는데
Yeah.
이게 프로젝트가 조금 커지고 복잡해지면서
Yeah.
첫째는 그 프로젝트가 커지면서 그리고 두 번째는 제가 그 넥스트.js로 프론트를 하고 수파베이스로 백엔드를 따로 한다 했잖아요.
Yeah.
근데 그 수파베이스를 수정을 하려면
Yeah.
그 수파베이스 웹사이트에 들어가서
Mhm. Mhm.
SQL을 쓰거나 아니면은 뭐 직접 그 데이터베이스를 만들어야 했어요. 그
Yeah.
폴더 같은 것들을.
Right.
근데 이제 그거는 챗GPT가 잘 모르는 게 좀 있던 거예요. 잘 안 맞는 게.
Yeah. When the project is smaller, like it can like help set up a bunch of stuff and write a bunch of code. But once it gets bigger and more complicated, then it doesn't really have the ability to like work on such a big project or understand.
그렇죠.
Yeah.
네,
Makes
네.
sense.
그래서 막 되게 효율적으로 그 리팩토링이 된 게
Yeah.
아니라
Yeah.
막 불필요한 게 막 한 두세 개가 하고 있고 막
Right.
그런 게 되다가 그래 신고 기능을 제가 넣어야 했어요.
신곡?
근데 신고하기.
Shingo. Oh yeah. That makes sense.
근데
Yeah.
이게 그 사람들이 글을 쓸 수 있으니까
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
만약에 이상한 막 글을 쓰거나 하면
Yeah.
그 다른 사람들이 이
You
글
need to
이상해요
report it,
하고
right? Yeah.
그렇죠.
Yeah. Because
그래서
you never know when people will write.
그러니까요.
Yeah.
그래서 신고 기능을 만들어야 하는데
Mm-hmm.
거기서 그 제가 지금까지 하던 그 챗GPT한테 이렇게 보여주고
Mm-hmm.
챗GPT가 알려주면 그대로 또 쓰고 이거 하는 그 방식에 한계가 온 거예요.
I see. Yeah.
그래서 그때부터 그 커서 AI
Yep. Mm-hmm.
네, 그 커서 AI를 쓰기 시작했는데
Mm-hmm.
그거 지프 안 써봤죠?
Yeah, I've never used it. No.
근데 얘기는 들어봤어요?
Yeah, I've definitely heard about it, and I've seen some videos about it, like seeing how people use it and stuff. But no, I haven't tried it myself.
그게 그냥 그 VS 코드에
Yeah.
그냥 챗GPT 같은 인공지능이 같이 있는 거예요.
Yep.
그래서 그냥 그 코드를 쓰는 대신에 프롬프트에 입력을 하면
Yeah.
얘가 안에서 해주는데
Mm-hmm.
근데 놀랍게도 그 커서 AI에
Mm-hmm.
그 슈퍼베이스 MCP가 있어서
Yeah.
이제 데이터베이스도 그 얘가 알아서 해주는 거예요.
Right. It's able to understand and set up the database also, as well as the other stuff. Right.
네, 맞아요.
Makes sense. Yeah.
네, 그래서 커서 AI를 같이 쓰면서 이제 한 두 달째 됐거든요.
Mm-hmm. So you've been using for about 2 months.
네.
Yeah.
그래서 커서 AI 쓰기 시작하고 한 3주쯤 걸렸을 거예요. 다 완성된 게.
Okay, I see. Mm-hmm.
아무튼 그렇게 2개 했었습니다.
Okay. Yeah. For me, like I have used AI a tiny bit. So when I first started doing Sangen, everything in the game was all done in JavaScript. There was no database. And I would say maybe for the first year there was no database. It was all just local on your PC.
단어들이 쫙 다.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the only saved data was on the user's PC. So if they cleared their browser history, all their information was gone. Or if they cleared their phone or whatever, if they changed phones, all the information was gone, which was really frustrating. Because people did it accidentally sometimes, of course.
그쵸.
So I was like, okay, I need to make a database and actually make it a proper website. But like I said, it was my first time doing it directly. I didn't know exactly. I didn't know PHP. I had to learn PHP. So I've learned maybe 5 or 10 programming languages at this point. I've done a lot of programming. So
네.
learning PHP for me is not that hard. It's similar to many other programming languages, very similar. But I didn't know exactly, how it works, what it can or can't do. And so sometimes when I was working on PHP, I would say, how do I search for a string in a string, for example? It's just a programming thing you can do. Basically, searching for a word inside another word. How do I do that? So I just type that into ChatGPT, or I actually use Copilot. In Copilot, I would say, in PHP, how do I search for a word in another word? And it would say, use this function. Here's an example. And I'd say, okay. Now I know the name of the function. So I can go look at the documentation, and then I have all the information I need, and then I can program it myself. So I just used it as a way to find documentation more quickly. I could do the same search in Google sometimes, but
그렇죠.
but sometimes I find the search results for coding in Google is not very helpful. So depending on what I'm looking for, because another example might be sometimes I would take a piece of code. So I'd written maybe 5 lines of code that's doing some kind of loop, and I put that into Copilot and say, hey, I've written this loop that does this thing. Is there a simpler way to do this in PHP? It seems like there should be. And it would say, you could do this instead or this instead. And I'm like, okay. Here's some new functions in PHP I didn't know about. Or since I was also pretty new to SQL, I would sometimes post a chunk of an SQL query and say, hey, I've made this SQL query. Is there any security flaws? Is there any security holes in this? and it would say, "Oh, well, because of this, because of this, because of this, here's some security problems you should consider." And I'd be like, "Oh," and then I could go do research and like read more about that somewhere else and like find out like what am I actually doing or do right or wrong. So I used it for research mostly.
아, 그렇네요.
Yeah.
네, 거의 뭐 그냥 매뉴얼 어디 보면 되는지 물어보는 정도.
Yeah.
그리고 코드 뭐 리뷰라고 해야 할까요? 뭐 리팩토링 할 수 있는지 물어보는 거랑.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
네.
those types of questions like pasting a block of code into Google search is not really possible. So sometimes you
그쵸.
can get more useful information that way.
맞네요.
Yeah. But it was funny because so when I was using Copilot, like using lots of different examples, sometimes I would say, "Hey, how do I search for a word in a word?" And the examples it would give me would be in Korean sometimes. Like I had used it enough that it knew that I was like doing Korean related programming work. And so the examples it would show me would be in Korean also. It was really funny. So
호호호.
yeah. So
아, 그런 일도 있구나.
yeah.
신기하네요.
Yeah. What else was I gonna say though? I also used AI for some of the art in Sangun. So there's
네.
like a story and like a
맞아요.
children's story, fairy tale, and in the book
네.
there'd be these
호-
pictures of like the tiger doing whatever.
호박이라는 호랑이가 자주 나오던데.
Yeah. That's right. There's the story about the pumpkin.
네.
Hobagi is the name of the stripeless tiger. So because he's just orange. Yeah. So, for example, that's a great example. Is I would say, please draw a picture of a stripeless tiger delivering some paper to a store or something like that. And it would never make a stripeless tiger. Like it would only make tigers with stripes. Like
어.
Copilot had no ability to make a stripeless tiger, no matter how I asked. Like I would say, no stripes, please. It should only be orange, no black, nothing. And it would always have stripes. And so I did like all the editing where I would have to like paint orange over all the stripes on the tiger.
아, 진짜요?
Yeah. And it would make little weird mistakes. Like sometimes in the picture, there'd be like, I'd want one tiger, but there'd be like two other tigers in the bottom left corner. And I'm like, I don't want those tigers. And so I'd have to like erase them and stuff like that. So I did a lot of editing on those images too.
아, 근데 그렇게
Yeah.
코파일럿은 코드 쓰는데 특화된 AI잖아요.
Yeah, that's right.
근데 좀 그런 영향을 많이 받는 것 같아요.
Yeah, it's pretty effective. Yeah.
그러니까 그 음악 잘 만드는 AI가 따로 있고 그림 잘 그리는 AI가 또 따로 있고 그쵸 막 근데 뭐 그 그림 그려주고 지브리 애니메이션 그림 바꿔주는 AI한테 코드 리뷰해달라고 하면은 잘 모를 수도 있는 거죠.
Yeah, true.
그런 거 그렇지
Yeah.
않을까요?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So, yeah, there's that. And then I guess so I've been making websites since I was pretty young. I would say maybe like 10 years old or something like that.
진짜요?
I might be getting my numbers wrong on this. Let me think. 82, 90. Yeah, it would have been like 12 years old, I think. But yeah, the first website I made was do you know the game GoldenEye? Do you know what that is if I say GoldenEye? Okay,
아니요 이름은 모르겠어요.
Okay, there's a James Bond N64 game, Nintendo 64 James Bond game called GoldenEye, which is a very popular first-person shooter on Nintendo 64. And so I made a website for that called GoldenEye Gold. It was called,
네.
and mostly it was like tips and tricks and information about like secrets in the game, like all the weird small secrets and stuff like that. And like some strategy guides and like fan art and things like that. It was just random stuff like that. Yeah.
약간 블로그 스타일의 웹사이트였네요.
Yeah, that's all that there was back then.
아, 그렇네.
Yeah, there was no like interactive stuff or anything. So yeah.
근데 웹사이트 그 처음 만들어 보기에는 좋은 것 같아요. 그런 스타일의 웹사이트가.
Yeah.
시작부터 너무 복잡한 거를 하려고 하니까 되게 압도되고 되게 좌절하게 되는 일들이 많더라고요.
That's true. Yeah. Mhm.
아, 물론 제가 만든 웹사이트도 되게 기능이 적고
Mhm.
되게 심플하잖아요, 보면.
Yeah, it's so much easier now. Yeah, there's all kinds of technology that simplifies the process. Yeah.
아니요.
That's not what
그러니까
you mean? What do you mean?
이 사이트가 그냥
Yeah.
그 유저 익스피리언스가 심플하잖아요.
Mm. You mean
근데
the
막
website itself is simpler for users to use than it used to be?
그렇죠.
No?
제가 만든 사이트가요.
Okay. Your site.
이 스낵디비가
Yeah. Okay.
네, 그냥 뭐 그 평점 남기고 한 줄 쓰고
Mhm.
그냥 검색하고
Mhm.
그리고 뭐 좋아요 버튼 누르고 신고하고
Mhm. Mhm.
그게 단데
Mhm.
그래서 막 엄청 이게 복잡하게 보이는 사이트가 아닌데
Mhm. Mhm.
그런데도 해야 할 거랑 신경 써야 할 부분들이 너무 많더라고요.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
그 막 신고 기능 하나 만드는데 진짜 머리가 터질 것 같은 거예요.
Yeah, adding a report button to the site could be complicated. Like, right.
네, 와 진짜 그래서
Mhm.
좀 시작부터 너무 내가 어려운 걸
Yeah.
골랐구나 생각이 들더라고요.
True. Yeah. That actually reminds me though. So one other thing that I tried to use AI for and failed is so in Sangen there's a dictionary of valid words, right? There's like
아, 네.
25,000 valid two letter words basically so far. And I always add new things to the dictionary. But of course, there are swear words that are considered valid, right? Like we could call them bad words or whatever, but swear words, right?
네.
I let people use those words, like I consider them valid. People can enter them. But one thing that I was like a little bit worried about is you can create your own custom puzzles and share them with other people, right?
아, 네.
I didn't really want people like sharing swear words as
그쵸.
custom
그건
puzzles. Yeah, it
네.
feels a little weird to me. So, so I was like, okay, well, I have a list. I have a list of like 20,000 words. How do I know which of these are swear words without going through every single word and checking
맞아요.
them? Because like maybe at the time when I added it, I might have known, but like that was months ago. Like I don't know anymore. So what I tried, I was like, okay, let me just take 100 words from the dictionary and give it to AI and say, please tell me which of these are swear words, like which ones, any of them.
어,
It was very bad at this task because it would look at the list and it would say, here are 3 words that I think are swear words. But like it wasn't like I looked through all of them and exactly these are the 3. It was just like here. Actually, it wasn't even the list. It would just say here are some common swear words in Korean, and it would give me like a list of 10 words.
음,
Some that were in the list and some that were not in the list. It would just give me 10 random words. I'm just like this is
아,
not useful. So
근데
yeah.
그게 언제였어요?
This was 4 months ago, maybe.
비교적 최근이네요.
Yeah. It was recently. So
모델이 뭐였어요? 모델.
this was again Copilot. Yeah, I mostly use Copilot because at least for me it's free. It's very simple.
아,
Yeah.
아니 그 챗GPT 프로는 좀 잘 찾을 수도 있어요.
Yeah, maybe I should have tried that. Yeah, and then there's also Claude. I think Claude is usually better at these types of tasks, but I don't have access to it right now.
네.
So what I ended up doing was I found a pretty good website that had a list of like maybe 100 or so, maybe even 200 swear words in Korean. And so I could take that list, simplify it down to just the 2-letter ones, because anything that's not one or more letters doesn't matter. So simplify it to that, and then just manually I marked like in my word database like which ones are swear words. And now whenever I add new words, I add just a little check mark next to it. It's like this is a swear word while I'm adding it, so I don't forget later.
아,
Yeah.
그 웹사이트 저한테도 좀 알려주시면 안 돼요?
Yeah, yeah. I can send
저도
it to you. Sure.
네, 저도 제 웹사이트에 등록해야 돼서
Maybe you need it for your website. Yeah.
네, 저는 지금
Yeah.
제가 단어들을 저도 추가해야 돼요.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
네, 그리고 사용자가 쓰면 안 되는 단어를 쓰면 그냥 별표로 바뀌거든요.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
네, 지금은 그렇게 되어 있는데 그 사이트가 도움이 될 것 같네요.
Yeah, for a site where you can leave reviews like how many stars something's worth and a description, you'd want to filter some words there probably. So yeah,
네, 네.
simplify it. Yeah, I'll send you the list. What else was I gonna say though? But yeah, I think that's all that I've used AI for. Mhm.
참. 근데 웹사이트를 진짜 하나 만드는데
Yeah. Oh wait. I have one more question before you go on
네.
that.
네네.
The AI that you're using, do you pay a subscription fee for that, or like the
네.
cursor? Okay.
챗GPT는
Yeah.
둘 다 그 월 요금을 쓰거든요.
Yeah.
프로 요금제.
You pay per month for the pro features.
네, 네.
Yeah.
근데 뭐 그 정도는 낼 만한 가치가 있다고 생각이 돼서.
Mm-hmm.
왜냐면 제가 전혀 못하는 웹사이트 제작을 할 수 있어요.
Sure. You wouldn't be able to do it otherwise. Yeah.
네, 그래서 뭐 괜찮다고 생각하는데요.
Yeah, true. Okay.
네, 아무튼 챗GPT는
Mm-hmm.
그 돈을 내면은 그 프로 성능의 그 좋은 인공지능을 그 되게 많이 사용할 수 있는 느낌이고요.
Mm-hmm.
그러니까 거의 무제한 수준인 것 같고 느낌이.
Mm-hmm.
근데 그 커서 AI는 그것도 프로 요금제를 써도
Yeah.
그 진짜 막 빠르게 하고 그 생각을 잘 해서 코딩을 하는 거는 그 분량이 좀 적어요.
I see. Yeah.
네, 그래서 그 정해진 양만큼을 쓰고 나면
Mm-hmm.
이제 뭐 좀 더 느리고
Yeah. It's a little slower.
그리고 네, 그리고 그 이전보다는 조금 낮은 성능으로 계속 쓸 수 있어요.
I see. Okay.
근데 그래서 요새는 어떻게 하냐면
Yeah.
그러니까 이 커서 AI는 코드를 쓰는 능력이 낮잖아요.
Yeah.
그리고 이 챗GPT는 직접 코드는 직접 못 고치지만 머리는
Right.
좋잖아요.
Right.
그래서 챗GPT한테 내가 커서한테 프롬프트를 써서 명령을 내리는데 얘한테 명령을 어떻게 내려? 이렇게 물어봐요.
I see. So you use a combination of them because one is good at one thing and one is better at the other. Cursor can
그쵸.
put the code directly into the website, but ChatGPT can't do that, but you can get more specific like instructions and things like that.
맞아요.
Makes sense. Yeah.
네. 아무튼 그렇게 하고 있습니다.
I see. Okay, you can change topics now. Sorry, I had that one more.
아니 뭐 그러니까 아까 했던 얘기랑 비슷한 건데
Yeah.
되게 사용할 때는 간단해 보이고 직관적인 것들이
Mm-hmm.
그 뒤에서 만들 때는 너무 신경 쓸 게 많고 복잡하더라고요.
Yeah.
그리고 되게 만드는 것에 그 저의 가치관이 들어간다는 것도 느꼈어요. 왜냐면 제가 그러니까 코딩을 하는 거 이외에
Yeah.
그 진짜 제가 선택해야 하는 부분들이 있더라고요. 예를 들면 그 닉네임을 얼마나 자주 바꿀 수 있게 해줄까?
How often should you be able to change your nickname?
네,
You
그런
need
거
to choose
아니면
that.
네, 이건 제가 정해야 하는 규칙인 거죠.
Right. Yeah.
그리고 그 코멘트에 그러니까 리뷰에 욕을 써서 뭐 신고를 당하거나
Sure. Yeah.
아니면 뭐 닉네임에 뭐 이상한 말을 쓰거나 그러니까 그런 일들이 있을 때 그 경고를 몇 번 해야 할지 그리고 언제 이 사람을 차단해야 할지.
Right. How many times do they? How many times can they do something bad before they get banned?
네, 그렇죠.
Yeah, things like that. Yeah, those are your decisions to make. That's right.
그러니까요.
Yeah.
그때 이제 그 인터넷과 그 자유에 대해서
Right. Mm-hmm.
그리고 그 책임에 대해서 생각을 좀 하게 되더라고요.
I see. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, the responsibility that I feel sometimes is so with Sungun, like sometimes there's like bugs because I wrote a bug or I changed some code and it created a new bug, and then somebody will report the bug to me and I'll be like, oh, I need to fix that. And I feel a responsibility to fix it very quickly, like maybe within a day or something like that. And there's been a few times where I would be done for the day. I would, go to bed. I would be just like reading something in bed before I went to sleep. And then I would see a bug report and be like, and then I'd get up out of bed and go fix it and then go back to
그래요?
bed. Yeah. If it only takes 5 minutes, I would sometimes do that. So yeah, I feel that responsibility.
그렇구나.
Yeah.
아, 근데 이게
Mhm.
웹사이트든 뭐든 그냥 뭔가를 만드는다는 거에 있어서
Mhm.
되게 자주 일어나는 일인 것 같아요.
Yeah, true. Mhm. Mhm.
예. 저는 뭐 음악 만들 때, 비트 만들 때도
Mhm.
그 자주 하는 게 막 하루 종일 비트를 만들면
Mhm.
그거를 이제 하루가 다 끝나고 자러 갈 때 자기 전에 그거를 이어폰으로 한번 마지막으로 듣고
Yeah.
잘 때가 있는데 근데 그때 뭔가 다 걸리는 거예요.
Right.
아씨 그러면 일어나서
Yeah. So
고치러 가는 거죠. 근데
if you're spending
네.
like all day working on a song, right before you go to bed, if you listen to it again, you hear something you want to fix, you just go do it immediately instead of waiting
네.
until the next day. Yeah.
네. 근데 이게 웹사이트도 마찬가지인 것 같아요.
Yeah, websites are the same. Yeah. Yeah, because you can always keep adding to them and changing them and making them better and things like that. Yeah, that's totally true. What was the other thing I was going to say? The other thing that happens sometimes, this is the most frustrating thing for me is so if I work on Sungun and I write a bug, I don't it's not a huge problem for me to go fix it because I'm like, I know it's my bug. I'm like, I messed this up. But sometimes my web host will like update their server or they'll
오.
change something like without asking me. Like it's not really my choice, it's their choice. But they'll change something and then suddenly something on my website will break or change or not work right. And I'll be like, oh no, now I need to figure out how to fix this. Or this happens sometimes where like there's an iPhone update, like iPhone Safari browser update. And all of a sudden, Safari browser with Sungun just doesn't work anymore. And I'm like, why? What is happening? That's so frustrating
그러니까요.
for me.
아 그렇구나.
Yeah.
아 그게 너무 무서워요.
Yeah, it's scary.
예. 근데 지프는 그거를
Yeah.
그냥 생 자바스크립트랑 HTML, CSS로 한 거잖아요. 근데 저는 그 Next.js로 해서
Yeah.
Next.js 업데이트 하면 또 조마조마해요.
Right. Yeah.
예, 저는 이제 위험한 부분이 더 많은 거죠. 훨씬 더 많은 거죠.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I've had that happen a few times where something would update and I'd have to like change all my SQL queries because I was using some function that no longer exists or doesn't work the same as it used to. Or like, I'm trying to think, there was one big update that really was difficult to figure out. Oh yeah. So there was an iPhone update where I don't have an iPhone right now. And so I would have a guess. I'd be like, maybe if I change this will fix it. And then I would like send a message to my friend like, hey, can you go to Sungun, like the website, and just check this on your iPhone? And they would say it still doesn't work. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'd like try again and be like, hey, can you check it again? And they'd be like, oh, it works now. And I'm like, okay. So sometimes I'm just guessing until I find the right thing, or like searching, or again, I can try Copilot and say, hey, my web host updated SQL from this version to this version, and this query no longer works. What am I doing wrong? And then it might have a suggestion like, oh yeah, in this version you have to do this. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, questions like that I find AI can be pretty useful for. Yeah.
아, 그쵸.
Yeah.
아, 근데 AI도 딱 그때 바뀐 최신 업데이트에 대응이 가능한지 모르겠어요. 되려나? 되나 모르겠네.
It seems to be like, okay, here's the thing. AI is definitely wrong sometimes. Like it doesn't always give me the correct answer. but sometimes it gives me the correct answer, and sometimes it helps me understand the problem more so that I can research it and find the correct answer, even if it doesn't know. It can sometimes point me at the right answer. Yeah.
아, 좋습니다.
Yeah, it's amazing. And also like sometimes when there's like a, for example, SQL version update, it isn't like that day was the first day that update happened. That update could have happened months ago, and then my web host just finally got those updates months later. And so AI might have some information about those updates, well before the actual problem happened.
아, 그럴 수 있겠네요.
Yeah. So it does have information like that.
그래요. 그러면 지프는 요새는 그러면 새로 만들거나 하는 건 없죠?
You're saying I don't want to make anything new or nothing new? Is that what you're saying?
아니 지금 만드는 거는 없죠. 또 따로 쌍근 말고.
Other than Sangun, yeah, I'm not working on anything, any websites or anything. Well, I had an idea though.
오,
So,
아이디어가 있다고요? 네.
Well, sort of. So a few years ago, I made a website called Time Coded Lyrics. So let me explain this website because it's kind of interesting. Okay, so I'm going to find a way to talk about Isora in every podcast we do. So I have a story about Isora. So I was working on a translation of one of Isora's songs from Korean to English. And I finished it. I thought it was pretty good. And so I wanted to share it somewhere. And I found that there was a website called colorcodedlyrics.com, color-coded lyrics. Color-coded lyrics is, I think it's mostly for K-pop fans. So
맞아요. 이 그룹이 부르는
Yeah.
노래를 위해서.
Yeah. And so they host fans of those groups will send translations of K-pop songs. And they use colors to sort of highlight specific lines or specific phrases. So you can see how those translate from one to the other. And it's called color-coded lyrics. So I sent them my Isora translation because I was like, I think this is pretty good. And they didn't accept it or reject it. They just never sent a response, and it never appeared on the website. And so I was like, okay, well, if they're not going to put it up, I'm going to make my own website where I can put my Isora translations, and I'll call it Time-Coded Lyrics, because I wanted to make it so that the phrasing and the rhyming and the timing of the song matched in English and Korean, like try to get the timing matching. And so I made a website that's like, it does like karaoke subtitles, like karaoke on a song. And it displays both the English and Korean subtitles together, right? Like in the same time. And so it's like time-coded lyrics. So I made this website where you can also, anybody who goes to the website can create their own translations or their own karaoke timings for different YouTube songs, or anything on YouTube. They can display the timed subtitles like karaoke style, right? And so I did that, but the way that you can share your custom time-coded lyrics is it generates a very long like URL, and you can send that URL to somebody else, and when they go to that URL, they see your custom created YouTube video with the timed lyrics that print, right? But there's no database. Like this is before I knew how to do databases because I hadn't done Sangun yet.
네.
And so users can't share their custom song lyrics through a database. They just share it through URL, like just a code, right? So I want to do an update for time-coded lyrics and add the database feature to that so that people can share their songs more easily. And so they're actually stored somewhere, and you can like people, they can do the thumbs up, thumbs down, or like whatever, like that kind of
네.
community type feature. So that's what I want to work on next a little bit. I think is just do an update to that website.
아 근데
Yeah.
이거는 또 다른 주제의 이야기로 아예 새로 할 수도 있는 거라고 생각하는데요. 그 되게 그러니까 찌푸도 이거 있으면 좋겠다 이거 내가 쓰고 싶다라고 생각해서 만들기 시작하는 거죠.
Yeah, that's a great way to make websites or anything is like, oh, I wish that this existed. Well, I guess I'll go make it because it doesn't. Yeah.
아, 그쵸, 그쵸.
Yeah, yeah.
제가 어젠가 그저께 그 지프한테 카톡으로 보여준 그것도 그
Yes.
피아노 코드 연습하는 거.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, you showed me that just like a day or two ago and I was like, that's a really good idea. Yeah.
아, 그래요?
Yeah, I think so. I think that sounds really cool.
아, 고마워요. 아니, 그 구독자분들을 위해 설명하자면 제가 요새 피아노 연습을 하는데 근데 그 코드 잡는 연습을 하거든요. 막 뭐 피아노 코드가 뭐 C 메이저 7, 뭐 D 도미넌트 7, 막
Right.
이런 코드들이 있는데
Yeah. So I think it's funny that you're saying code because in this case you're saying chord.
아,
In English it's
그쵸.
chord, but not code. So I just want to
네,
clarify
네.
for people who listen. Like, go ahead.
맞아요, 맞아요. 피아노 코드, 피아노 코드예요.
Piano chords.
네. 근데 그거를 그 코드를 보자마자 바로 저는 그 손 모양이 바로 그 되면 좋겠어요.
Yeah.
근데 문제는 그러니까 저도 모르는 상태에서 새로운 코드가 딱 뜨면 그걸 보고 제가 확 반응을 하는 그 환경이 있으면 좋겠는데
Right.
그게 없는 거예요.
Right. Yeah. Flashcards for learning like musical sheet music or chords and things like that.
정확해요. 네.
Yeah.
그래서 그 화면이 그 인터페이스가 두 개가 있고 영역이 두 개가 있고 그래서 이 한쪽에서 그 문제 코드가 그 뭐 C7 이렇게 띵 나오면 그 제가 손으로 치는 그 건반들의 코드랑 그 음표들이 여기 딱 뜨는 거죠. 네, 그래서 딱 맞으면 파란색 글자로 맞았다 하고 다음 문제로 가고 그 틀리면 그 빨간 글자로 틀렸다고 나오고 밑에 제가 짚고 있는 그 음표들이 뭐가 틀린 건지
I see.
나오게 되는.
So I didn't think of that when you first mentioned it, but you're saying the input would actually be pressing the notes on the keyboard, like D.
맞아요.
Oh, that's great. That's fun. I like that idea.
네, 그래서 막 제가 누르는 게 막 깜빡깜빡하면서 막 나오거든요.
Yeah.
그래서 네, 그거를 뭐 그 코드 문제들을 그 팩별로 해서 뭐 메이저 7 코드들 팩, 그리고 뭐 마이너 7 코드 팩,
Yeah.
그리고 무슨 뭐 다이어토닉 스킬 코드 팩 이렇게 해서 그걸 이제 체크를 할 수 있는 거예요. 내가 연습하고 내가 나오면 좋겠는 문제들 팩을.
Yeah.
그래서 뭐 여러 개 하면 랜덤으로 나오게.
That sounds really cool. I like that idea.
아, 감사합니다. 제가
Yeah.
잘 만들어서 지프한테도 보내줄게요.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let me see.
네네. 근데 참 좀 아이러니하죠.
Why?
제가 지금 당장 해야 하는 건 피아노 연습인데 더 좋은 피아노 연습 방법을 만들기 위해서 피아노 연습을 안 하고 코딩을 하고 있어요.
Yeah, I same thing with Sangun where I was like, oh, I think that this would be a fun way to learn like more Korean words. And so I was like, okay, I'll make this website. But then I spent all my time working on the website and coding and not learning the words. And so yeah. Same thing there. I think that just happens sometimes. But
아, 그쵸.
at the same time, like just the fact that to make the website, you have to understand the content a little bit better. And so maybe through the process of making it, you will actually learn that stuff. But it's just a different way of learning.
맞아요.
having a
맞아요.
website, yeah.
네. 아, 그러니까 제가 이게 그 에러가 없는지 계속 그 건반을 치면서
Yeah.
확인을 해야 되잖아요.
Right.
그러니까 그 뭐 업데이트 코드 고치고 그 문제 막 풀고 또 코드 고치고 문제 풀고 하니까 이제 그냥 다 바로바로 집어요.
Yeah.
그냥 바로바로 피아노를.
True. Yeah, totally.
그렇게 되더라고요.
Yeah. Trying to think if I've worked on so many websites that I think if I just talked about all the websites I've worked on, we could talk forever. So
아,
we
그쵸.
might need to wrap up pretty soon.
네,
We
네.
can
또,
also have this topic again sometime. But
네.
yeah.
좋습니다. 좋습니다.
Yeah,
또 다음 일정이 있으니까 지프가.
Yeah.
네, 뭐 이쯤에서 정리하고
Mhm.
그 제가
음.
그 AI 없이는
Mhm.
그 웹사이트를 전혀 못 만드는 사람이거든요.
Maybe someday. Don't say never, but yeah.
아, 뭐 지금은
Right now, sure.
네네. 근데 이거를 다르게 얘기하면은요.
Yeah.
그 저같이 코딩을 전혀 못하는 사람도 이제는 AI만 좀 잘 쓰면 생각만 했던 웹사이트를 만들 수도 있게 된 거예요.
Absolutely. I think that's very true. The barrier to entry has been lowered. Like anybody, whether they have any ability or skill or not, can make a website and make a pretty like good or interesting or complicated website. The only thing I would say just as a caution is if you're making a website that like stores user information, like
아,
account
오.
information or has any sensitive data, please do not use AI to do that.
그쵸. 진짜
like,
조심해야 돼요.
yeah. Because somebody is gonna
아.
like find like the holes in the back doors in that and like just exploit it. So
맞아요.
please do
맞아요.
not.
아,
do that. Please don't do that.
맞다. 예. 그거랑 관련해서
네.
제가 못한 이야기가 있는데
Yeah.
그래서 웹사이트를 거의 다 만들고 나서
Yeah.
제가 걱정을 되게 많이 했거든요. 그 보안 이슈 때문에. 근데 정말 운이 좋게도 그 제 한국어 프리토킹 그 튜터링 수업하는 학생 중에 그 화이트 해커 학생이 있었어요.
Ah, good.
네, 그래서 그 화이트 해커 학생한테 그 좀 봐줄 수 있냐.
Yeah.
네.
Did he find any problems?
아, 근데 다행히
Yeah.
그 큰 문제는 그냥 없고,
No big problems. Yeah.
네네, 그냥 진짜 자잘한 뭐
Yeah.
개선 사항.
Okay. Yeah.
네, 그게 한 다 대여섯 개 있어서 이제 그것까지 싹 다
Okay.
고쳤습니다.
Good. That's great. Yeah. Getting a second opinion helps. Yeah, I think that there was a few times where when I was working on the Sangun database, I asked one of my friends who's much more familiar with database coding to like look at my code and just be like, please just tell me if I'm making any mistakes. He found like one or
맞아요.
two small things and like it was useful. So yeah.
네.
Yeah.
아, 그 친구 말고도 또 제 중학교 동창 친구 한 명이 걔는 아예 그 웹 개발 프로그래머라서 또 이제 완성한 이후에 뭐 조금 봐주기도 했죠. 뭐 이건 좀 고치면 좋을 것 같다. 뭐
True.
이렇게
Yeah, that's
그런
right.
도움이 있으면 좋죠.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you can always get help and stuff like that. So
네.
yeah, anybody can make a website. Since like again, like we're not like advertising, but you know, we did talk about our websites. In the comments, if you have worked on a website, like you can put please in the comments you can put a website that you've worked on, and that's fine. Like you can share it. I won't feel bad about it if you do.
아, 당연하죠. 그리고
Yeah.
만약에 혹시 유튜브 댓글에 링크가 안 되면 그냥 이름만 올려도 되니까요.
True. Yeah, just put the name if
네.
the link isn't working because of like YouTube filters and stuff. So yeah.
네네. 또 은근히 개발자분들이 많이 보시기 때문에
Yeah, I think so.
네, 좀 공유하실 수 있을 것 같습니다. 그러면 오늘은 여기서 마무리할까요?
Yeah, let's wrap up.
네, 좋습니다. 되게 재밌는 주제였는데 좀 일찍 끝내서 아쉽지만 다음에 또 얼마든지 이어서 할 수 있으니까요.
Yep, this was a fun topic, but yeah, we'll be back again with another cool one. So yeah, join us for the next one.
네. 그러면은 저희는 다음 주에 또 유익하고 흥미로운 내용으로 돌아오겠습니다. 그러면 저는 지금까지 하프앤하프의 정통이었습니다. 감사합니다.
And I'm Jeep. You've been listening to Half and Half, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.